Introduction to Ante-Nicene Christian Library. Translations of the writings of the Fathers down to A.D. 325. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Ante-Nicene Christian Library. Translations of the writings of the Fathers down to A.D. 325 by Alexander Roberts, editor. Introduction. Our aim in these translations has been to give a rendering of the original as literal as possible, and to this we have adhered even in cases, and they are not a few, in which the Latin or the Greek is not in strict accordance with grammatical rule. It was thought advisable in all cases to give the reader the means of forming an accurate estimate of the style, as well as the substance of these curious documents. The Apocryphal Gospels, properly so called, consist of 22 separate documents, of which 10 are written in Greek and 12 in Latin. These 22 may be classed under 3 heads. A. Those relating to the history of Joseph and the Virgin Mary, previous to the birth of Christ. B. Those relating to the infancy of the Savior, and C. Those relating to the history of Pilate. The origins of the traditions are the Proto-Evangelium of James, the Gospel of Thomas, and the Acts of Pilate. All or most of the others can be referred to these 3 as compilations, modifications, or amplifications. There is abundant evidence of the existence of many of these traditions in the 2nd century, though it cannot be made out that any of the books were then in existence in their present form. The greater number of the authorities on the subject, however, seem to agree in assigning to the first 4 centuries of the Christian era the following 5 books: 1. The Proto-Evangelium of James, 2. The Gospel of Pseudo-Matthew, 3. The history of Joseph the Carpenter, 4. The Gospel of Thomas, and 5. The Gospel of Nicodemus. We proceed to give a very brief notice of each of them. The Proto-Evangelium of James. The name of Proto-Evangelium was first given to it by Postel, whose Latin version was published in 1552. The James is usually referred to St. James the Less, the Lord's brother, but the titles vary very much. Origen, in the end of the 2nd century, mentions a book of James, but it is by no means clear that he refers to the book in question. Justin Martyr, in 2 passages, refers to the cave in which Christ was born, and from the end of the 4th century down, there are numerous allusions in ecclesiastical writings to statements made in the Proto-Evangelium. For his edition, Tischendorf made use of 17 manuscripts, one of them belonging to the 9th century. The Greek is good of the kind and free from errors and corruptions. There are translations of it into English by Jones, 1722, and Cooper, 1867. The Gospel of Pseudo-Matthew. The majority of the manuscripts attribute this book to Matthew, though the titles vary much. The letters prefixed, professing to be written to and by St. Jerome, exist in several of the manuscripts, but no one who is acquainted with the style of Jerome's letters will think this one authentic. There are, however, in his works many allusions to some of the legends mentioned in this book. Chapters 1 through 24 were edited by Thilo. Chapters 25 to the end are edited for the first time by Tischendorf. It is not very clear whether the Latin be original or a direct translation from the Greek. In most part it seems to be original. The list of epithets, however, applied to the triangles of the Alpha in chapter 31 are pretty obviously mistranslations of Greek technical terms, which it might not be difficult to reproduce. Gospel of the Nativity of Mary. This work, which is in substance the same as the earlier part of the preceding, yet differs from it in several important points, indicating a later date and a different author.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?